Hi, I'm Dr. Jeff Burns, co-director of the University of Kansas Alzheimer's Disease Center. Welcome to my office. I want to give you a brief update on the news you may have heard about with Biogen recently announcing that their drug called Aducanumab may have slowed progression of Alzheimer's disease in two of their trials. We participated in one of those trials. This is a really big deal. What they're doing with the data is actually taking it now to the FDA next year to try to seek approval for their drug for use in patients with Alzheimer's or mild cognitive impairment. Let me take you quickly through the results that they presented. Very encouraging results that we may be seeing slowing in patients in the mildest stages of Alzheimer's disease who are treated with this drug. You can see the figure on the right here shows two lines diverging. The one that rises faster is placebo patients, and the one that seems to level off to some degree, although patients continue to progress and get worse in that group, but we see to some degree there's a leveling off of decline. In this figure, increasing numbers is a worsening in decline, hence the rise for those who do worse. Why is this such a big deal? So this is a big deal partly because this is a reversal of what they announced in March earlier this year, and they actually halted the two studies prematurely because they determined that the studies were futile, that we weren't going to see any benefit from these drugs when they did an early analysis of the data. And so they basically pulled the rug out from underneath us in March 2019, and this was a big deal to the field. It was a big deal to KU, stopping these trials early. What they're doing with this recent announcement is putting the rug back underneath us and saying there is hope that this drug may have slowed progression of disease. So with the announcement that they're seeking FDA approval, that's a huge deal. That raises the possibility that within a year or two, we may have another drug that we can use in the clinic to treat our patients. And a drug that not only helps some of the symptoms, but might actually slow the disease progression. The other thing, scientifically, the other reason this is a big deal is the amyloid hypothesis. I'll mention how the drug works in a minute, but it basically breathes new life into this hypothesis that we argue about. Does amyloid cause the disease, and is it a viable target for therapy? Can we go after amyloid to treat people with Alzheimer's disease? And we've done a series of studies. None of them have proved to be that amyloid is a good target. This may be the first. Quickly, how does this drug work? This drug is an antibody that's infused through the vein into patients with amyloid in their brain. And the antibody is directed against amyloid. The immune system then sees that antibody attaching to the amyloid, and then the immune system removes the amyloid from the brain. So this reduces the amount of amyloid in the brain. The data that they presented showed that measures of amyloid in the brain were reduced in patients who were treated on the high dose and the low dose group, and no changes in amyloid in those who did not get drug. As you can see in this figure, green is the high dose, blue is the low dose, and you see that from baseline amyloid is reduced considerably in the two treatment groups. So just to sum it up, what this announcement means is there is hope in the short term that we may have a drug that is better than the ones we've got to slow the decline of Alzheimer's disease. There's a long way to go. We can't assume that it's going to be approved by the FDA, and there's reasons that it may not. If it's not approved, there'll be good reasons why it's not approved. But very exciting times, a long way to go. It would not be available for well more than a year from now if it is approved. But for the field, it has major impact in terms of the hope that going after amyloid. And I'm somebody who does not necessarily endorse the amyloid hypothesis, but it gives me hope that maybe those who do are right, and maybe will in the short term have a drug that can improve the lives of our patients and slow the disease.